You're listening to Wholesaling Inc., episode number 185.
Once we put the agreement together and signed it, it was such an emotional point for him to just be able to detach from it.
Right.
And then he was just like on pins and needles up until the day that it closed, which was only 10 days later. But he's just like, I can't believe it. He's like, no, I need you to come and fix a couple other problems in my life. He was just so grateful. It was
That's
just
awesome.
This is game-changing information guaranteed to raise your real estate wholesaling business with actionable steps you can take immediately to navigate the ins and outs of wholesaling and start making money today. Bam! Join us as we put our guests in the hot seat and dive deep to dissect their strategies for success to enable you to duplicate their results. Investor Grit presents Wholesaling Inc., the only show dedicated to making you a fortune in wholesaling with your hosts, Tom Kroll and Cody Hoffheim.
Woo! Okay, guys, he came from Minnesota. He was in the program for 5 or 6 weeks, and he already did his first deal. We've got Chad Spoolman on the line from Minnesota. This guy is such a rock star. I've been just chatting with him back and forth, and I am telling you what, we are about to learn some lessons about what it takes to do a deal right out of the gate. Just join the tribe. I am super, super excited. Chad, do you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
It is great to have you on the line, guys. We were going to get started. We're going to pick his brain. This is Tom Kroll, America's #1 wholesaling coach with Wholesaling Inc. If you don't know what wholesaling is, it is the #1 way to make a fortune in real estate or in any category of anything that you could possibly do in business or life that I know of, short of winning the lottery, to just make an absolute fortune in a very short amount of time by finding discounted properties. And Chad just joined the program, and we are going to pick his brain about how he had success right out of the gate. So Chad, I'm really looking forward to it, brother. Before we get started, could you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, no problem. I am a father of 2 beautiful little girls up here in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Congratulations.
I am now,
that's awesome.
Thank you. Best part about life, right?
Absolutely.
I am now full-time as a wholesaler. I quit my job actually right when I joined up. I had been kind of planning for a year and knew that this is what I wanted to do, and knew that the only way I would do it is if I just did it. So
that's awesome.
I am off and running, and
let's get right to it. Let's get right to it because sure. I want to ask you about that, Chad. That is such an interesting story. It is more difficult for people who have a job to get going. There's no question about that. And there are more challenges when your time is given into a 9 to 5. What did you actually do to do that? Because I know there's listeners out there who are definitely working. Some of them are commuting to work right now. Right. Some of them are at the gym listening. And, they're sitting here and they're saying, well, I work right now. Is it better to get started and work simultaneously or to quit my job? I love the fact that you quit your job to do it. But how did you know how to do that? I mean, what I mean is to plan for it, to save up. How much did you save up? What did that look like?
Well, for me, I had a job that I was not able to do any kind of multitasking. I wasn't able to be on the phone. I wasn't able to leave. It was very structured, and I was very stuck. Just
what
through your pod. I was actually I won't say the brand because I don't want to get.
Sure. That's fine. Yeah.
But I was a luxury German vehicle technician.
Okay.
So it was very specific, and it was very technical work, and it was not something that I could stop doing and take a call, or there was no back and forth possibility for that.
Is that like basically a car mechanic, but you worked on the computers parts?
It was, it's like, the vehicles I worked on through just the one make that I worked on, we had 50 plus computers on each car. So it was pretty technical work, and it was pretty, you had to be pretty focused.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Good. Okay. So how did you decide how much you needed to, save up, or what was the plan that you put in place to quit your job?
What I did was I figured that if I could, I have every bit of confidence in myself and in this, once I figured out what this business was, I figured out, hey, I can totally do this.
Right.
So I figured, I'm going to give myself a cushion of a year's worth of money that I need to live on.
So not salary, but you actually said, okay, what are our monthly expenses? Then times 12. Correct. And then you saved up that amount of money.
That's what I did.
You guys, I know we just kicked this show off and it's really early. Pay attention. That is a game changer. That's a Kiyosaki move right there. I really am impressed. I mean, that's really something. I don't know if I've ever heard that before, and I love it. I think that's really, really cool. So anyway, go ahead. So you saved that up, and then what was quitting day like? How did that work?
It was awesome. It was like I felt like what I would imagine it would be like to be let out of prison.
Oh yeah. I know. Well, that's great, man. Congratulations. I had to get fired. So I'm impressed. I actually had to wait till I got fired, and then I started doing deals. So you quit your job, and then did you know you were going to go into wholesaling, or were you just kind of looking at real estate in general? What did that journey look like?
A year probably when I first realized, okay, I'm going to get into a real estate investment somehow. I thought, is it going to be flipping? Is it going to be wholesaling? I didn't really understand what wholesaling was, or that it was in fact a real thing.
Right.
It's like one of those sounds too good to be true kind of things.
Yes.
So that, previously that year before, I was like, whatever it is, I'm going to do it. Actually, just a couple of months before my kind of year deadline was coming up for myself, I started listening to your podcast.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, well, how about that? It is real. And there are people there are real people. You guys are all very, very kind, sincere people. And that really comes through in the podcast.
Awesome.
And for me, I was like, that's what I'm going to do.
That's awesome.
So from that point forward.
That is so, I really thank you. That's a compliment. Mm-hmm. And I really, I appreciate that. It means the world. So that's good. So you joined the program, and you guys, this is the meat and potatoes. The reason that my team wanted to have Chad on, not just because of the reason I already told you, Chad, which is Chad has a lot of fans in our company. But the other reason was because, there is a common thread that runs amongst our most successful students. If you took the top 100 or 200 students in this tribe, there are some common threads. And one of those commonalities is something that Chad used to get a deal, not with a postcard, not with a mail piece or cold call or a bandit sign or driving for dollars or SEO or PPC or Facebook ads or skip tracing or whatever else that we're all doing. He used just, how would I describe this? I think I would describe it as like a belief system, or when you make a decision, like Tony Robbins talks about, that you're going to make a decision is made in an instant. And that when you make that decision, you get in this life, not what you want, but what you can't live without. And Chad did it. And I'm going to tell you how he did it. He's going to tell us how he did it here in a second, but I want you to pay attention to not just the strategy and the tactic of this completely unique way. I've never heard of anybody, starting the program this way and getting a deal, but I want you to hear how he did it and what he did. So let's talk about that. You were kind of briefly telling me. So you started the program, you did the first few steps of finding some real estate investors, and then you made a list of people who, you tell us, tell us about this journey. How did you do it?
I just kind of went through a mental inventory of everybody that I knew, anybody that I had, I went through all my contacts in every form I have them. And I just thought about it. I was just like, I've got to know somebody that needs to sell a house, that needs to sell me a house,
right?
Not just sell a house, that needs to unload something that's not, typical retail type product.
Now, so what you basically did is you basically made a list of every single person in your life that you thought may possibly either want to or be interested in selling a property or unloading a property for one reason or another.
Right.
I love it. This reminds me, one of my mentors, a very close personal friend and a mentor of mine is Orrin Woodward. This is a guy who is just a complete beast in the MLM world. And he has a great product that I'm a huge fan of and I endorse. And Orrin is just he lives in my town and he's somebody that we go to the same church. We've gotten very close. And, it's funny, in the MLM world, this is something that they do. I've never really even thought about it, but they just basically say, hey, go out and tell your friends and family. And I love this idea. I've never heard of it before, but it works. So you put this list together, right? And I know you kind of told me about a handful of the stories. How did you, the person who you ended up wholesaling their house, was it an email, a text, a phone call? And what was the communication? Tell me the story as if I want to do it myself, what would I do? So I make this list and then what do I do?
Sure.
How do I reach out?
Well, I narrowed it down to 3 people that I thought might actually, they had mentioned for one reason or another having a property to get rid of, a few different stories. One of them was a person who had lost a spouse. So he had moved on. He had this house. He ended up selling that house to a neighbor. Another was somebody who was, longing to move to the country, and they decided to keep that for a little bit longer while they, did whatever they were going to do. And then this third person, he was somebody that I spoke with very rarely. He was just really hard to get a hold of. And I just started texting him, leaving him messages. I knew that the messages were an absolute, waste, but I was just trying to make contact. So I kept texting him, and he eventually got back to me. And, joining the program, I had this confidence that I actually was doing something that was legitimate. So I finally got a hold of him, and I said, "Hey, do you still have this, house that I was hoping he had?"
Was that the first thing you said, or did you kind of build some rapport with him?
Oh, no, I definitely, reached out to him and just caught up with him as far as life was concerned.
Okay.
Which, I would do with anybody. It's just,
okay.
Just being a nice person, I wasn't just going right for, and I genuinely wanted to know how he was doing and what was happening in his life. And it turns out that he did still have this house. He had been holding on to it for 5 years, sitting vacant, just, making the absolute minimal kind of maintenance to the property and just, paying most of the bills on it. So we got together, and, with a little convincing, he started to believe me that, yes, I will buy the property from him, and that it will be a huge to him, as far as just getting a big piece of drama out of his life. And I just moved forward from there.
Got it. So did he say, did he give you any resistance, or how did you determine the value? I mean, you're so new at this, right? You're only a handful of weeks in. So what did all that look like?
Well, basically, no, I went through the script. I think your script kind of answers all the questions if you can get all of the answers from the seller.
Okay.
So I kind of used that as the basis for the information I gathered from him. So I figured out what it needed, how much he owed on it, if there were any other issues with it, what he'd like to get out of it, and move forward from there. I mean, I used Zillow just to, pull comps on it. I pulled rehabs in the neighborhood to see what, kind of what the low and high end was, and came up with a value that I thought, was realistic, and discussed with him what he owed on it. And
so you're a licensed appraiser, right? I mean, you have, see, this is the point, guys, is that it's, it's your best guess. I mean, you guys, this is going to be a very short and right to the point podcast. And this is a podcast that you should listen to twice, because as I'm just sitting here quietly listening to Chad, you will notice he speaks and presents, and he has the belief system of the 1%, just in the way he is moving through this deal. Don't take for granted. We are not on the phone with somebody right now who's been doing this for 20 years. We're on the phone with somebody who's been doing this for 5 or 6 weeks, right? And has a deal. So I just want you guys to keep in mind that this is the mindset of, I guarantee you, we are going to hear from Chad again, and I guarantee you he's going to be in the top 100 students. And he said even the top 10, which I believe. This is this is what it takes. I mean, if you listen to Haz, there's no hesitation. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's moving forward with confidence. And if he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. But really kind of listen to this from if you re-listen to this podcast, listen to his positioning, listen to his mindset, listen to how he speaks when he's talking about this deal. Keep in mind, he has no idea what he's doing except for just a very loose and some very light instruction from us. Other than that, he's kind of, he could have probably have done this without our course. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. This is the kind of mindset you want to maintain. But go ahead, Chad. I don't mean to keep cutting you off. I just want everyone to recognize what's going on here.
Yeah. So just, I eventually got to the point of going over to take a look at the property. And because I am not a contractor or an appraiser or really that knowledgeable about construction, I was just kind of shooting from the hip. I was just kind of walking through, that's probably going to be $5,000. That's probably going to be $5,000, kind of just spitballing it. So I kind of figured out what repairs it needs and, weighed that against what he was looking for out of the property. We came to an agreement that worked for him, and it worked for him so much so that he was like, you're never going to be, he's like, you are not going to be able to pay me that for this house. I'm like, and not that it was like that I was overpaying, just that it was just essentially covering what he owed on it.
Did he give you a price before you went out to go look at the property?
He did.
Okay.
He did.
And then did you come off of that price when you guys saw the property together? Like, did you lower it or increase it or anything like that?
No, I was actually, I knew what he owed on it, and he was essentially telling me that that's what he wanted.
Got it.
He's like, I just need to be able to not bring money to closing.
Okay. Got it.
And it had a couple other issues aside from what was owed. It also had a big assessment with the city because he'd been ignoring their notices for the last 5 years. So he racked up a big bill there, which I actually negotiated that away with the city.
Awesome.
But
I hope everybody should rewind this 15 seconds. And just listen to what Chad said. I mean, I'm telling you, this is key stuff, guys, because otherwise I'm going to be regurgitating. I'm repeating it the whole time. But yeah, you can absolutely do that. You can negotiate. I have a property myself personally that we're renegotiating right now that we're doing exactly the same thing. I love it. That is so cool. So, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But yeah. And then, I said, okay, worst case scenario, this is what you'll get out of getting rid of this property. More so, you will not have to come over here and mow the lawn, pay for the snow to be shoveled, worry about this leaking roof, worrying about, pipes freezing up here in Minnesota, which is a real thing.
Right. Okay.
But it was just, and for him, it was like once we put the agreement together and he signed it, it was such an emotional point for him to just be able to detach from it.
Right.
And then he was just like on pins and needles up until the day that it closed, which was only 10 days later. But he's just like, I can't believe it. He's like, no, I need you to come and fix a couple other problems in my life. He was just so grateful. It was
That's awesome. Motivated seller.
Amazing. Oh yeah.
Motivated seller. This is
like,
the key.
I got it. Yeah. It's like, I understood at that point what was happening and what the point of this was.
All right. That is the main point of this episode, you guys, is I really think that if you have the right mindset, you are going to do this, whether or not you have a course, whether or not you have instruction. I guarantee you that if our program, Wholesaling Inc. didn't exist, Chad would have still did a deal. That is amazing. So that is great, man. You already are, but you're going to be in that top 100. You're a beast. That's awesome. So now how are we going to repeat this result? Tell me. And how much, by the way, just for everybody, you made $5,500 on this deal. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah,
5,500.
That kills me. Not kills me. That kills my personal. I think my first one was 2,000. Wait, 1,200. Oh man, I don't even remember anymore. It was Dorothy.
It's probably just like you. I just wanted to get it done. I just wanted to get that first one done and just move forward.
Yeah, my first one I think was $2,000, and I forgot to tell the cash buyer that he had to pay closing costs. So I had to follow him home to get cash. It was but
I can't even imagine how that would work.
No good. It was no good. All right, so what's the game plan? How are we going? So where are you in the course now?
Okay, so I think I'm on the last round. I just got through Todd's VA gauntlet, and I'd actually just because out of necessity, I just went on and hired a VA to handle the mailing list that I'm working on.
Okay.
And just as a little side note, just regarding the negotiating with the city on his assessment, he had a $6,000 assessment. I worked it down to $800, and I didn't even, it's tough to call it negotiating, even though that's what it was. It was more so, I just went and introduced myself to the person in the finance department of the city and just sold what was going to happen with this house.
Right.
If we could take care of this. I told them, hey, you're going to get a house back on the, roll that is going to be a nice house instead of the worst house in the neighborhood. And
you did that in person?
More than happy. Yeah.
See, you guys, there's so, I think because now I've been doing this for so many years, there's things that you're saying that it's so funny how the top 1%, the way they act, this is all of the traits. Like so many people would have called, but Chad got in the car and went to the city. And I know you're saying, well, Tom, that's such a little silly thing. I cannot tell you this is such a sign of a person who is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow in this business when it's all grit and determination and perseverance and belief and making a decision and sticking to it, having clarity, having one thing like Gary Keller talks about. This is the fact that Chad got in his car and did that. I'm telling you, you guys, game changer. Watch what happens here with this guy. So, Chad, that's amazing, brother.
Thank you. It was so worth it, not only just to meet him, but everyone else you meet going through the city offices to meet him. You introduce yourself, tell them what you do. It's like, I know everybody in that city office now, and they're all, especially Larry, the guy who helped me out.
That's awesome.
He's like, this is great. I'm going to send you anybody else that I have that might fit this. They're just like, they're on my team now. So
that's awesome. So how many real estate investors do you have on your list now?
I think I'm up to about 230.
That is incredible. That is awesome. Yeah. So just so everybody knows, one of the first steps in our course is you have to build up your cash buyer list, your real estate investor list, and 230 is awesome. The minimum to start mailing for motivated sellers that we always insist on is 150. So Chad, again, is already exceeding that level, which is awesome. There are people who are not even up to that after much more time. So that's incredible. Yeah. When does your mail campaign start, and which mail list are you going to mail first?
Well, that was actually why I mentioned that about the city, because one of my mail campaigns is code violations. And up here in Minneapolis, there are a ton of little cities right around the city. So I just used that same process with every city. I just went and introduced myself to the complaints department, either in person or via email or call them, just however I could get a hold of the right person. And it's been I think just talking to these people and letting them know what you're doing versus trying to force information out of them, for me, has been so easy. Yep. So I've got a huge code violation list, huge for me, which is going to be about 5,000 or 6,000 from about 8 cities. I just mailed out to tax delinquent for my county. I just mailed out to a distressed property driving for dollars list that I had put together. And then I have high equity absentee, another 3 weeks out.
So yeah, I would say if you can get from the city, eviction list, code violation, tax delinquent, I would definitely hit those hard.
Yeah, I have all but eviction. I hadn't even thought of that. Try
to get the eviction list. It's small, but try to get that one. You could also do from the city is probate, which is key. But
that's the other one that's on my list.
Okay. Yeah. You know what you're doing, brother. Just make sure you stay focused on, come into the support calls, any questions you have, and then just massive action. Just remember, the guys and girls with the most results are always the ones who have the most success. So just keep doing what you're, I don't have much coaching for you, quite frankly. I would definitely, well, yeah, we'll just talk about it. I don't know if we're going to keep this in the podcast or not, but the bigger deals, www.wholesalinginc.com/bigger deals. Make sure you get that.
Right.
But yeah, I think that is the key. Yeah. Just consistency and bigger deals. And now, you did one, just make sure you have total. What is your goal right now?
My goal is I'm just looking at it monetarily. What I'm looking at is $25,000 per month throughout the end of this year, or throughout the next, through July. And then I'm pushing that up to $30,000 through December. This is per month. And then next year I tell all of my friends and my family that I want to have $1 million net business by the end of next year.
Cool. I like it.
That's the goal.
So what are you going to spend on marketing next month?
About $2,000.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to suggest. Number one, make sure did you tithe on that 5,500 yet?
I did.
Okay, beautiful. Good, man. So make sure you tithe on the 55, which you've already done. I would bump that 2,000 to 3,000. And for next month, I would up that to 3,000 or 3,500. Get super uncomfortable with it, whatever.
Oh no,
yeah, and get out. Make sure you have mail pieces going out every single week, and then I would make my goal for next month. Let's do 5 deals next month, and that's a very attainable, crystal clear goal, right? So you're 2 weeks away from there now, right? So let's start mailing right away. So for the next 6 weeks, you should have mail going out every week.
And I do right now.
Perfect. And then, just bump up your budget a little bit, and let's make right now, when you take bigger deals, your average assignment fee will go up. Right now, I just want lots of deals, though. I don't care too much about the assignment fee. If I owned your company next month, I want you to bring in 5 deals, right? So, so next month, bring in 5 deals. That's your crystal clear, Gary Keller, one thing, pumpkin plan, Mike Michalowicz, the one thing that you got to do is 5 deals, and then just maintain that same mindset. The $1 million net business is nice, but that's so far away. And what is $1 million, and is that really important? And I would say it's more important.
Yeah, and it's not. I just don't know how to make a goal in this business yet, because it's so it's so new. I just have to try to figure out how to break it down into quarters and months and everything. So it's but no, that's excellent. I love the idea of 5 deals next month. That's
5 deals next month. You could totally do it, right? So shoot for 6 or 7. So you hit 5. And the other thing is you are in, okay. So you're close to Wisconsin.
I am.
You know what I would do is I would drive across. You're right on the borderline there. Okay. Corey and Kerry Remnant is her last name, and just go into the forum and just ask for Corey's number, and I would have lunch with him. That's a couple that came into our tribe just recently and absolutely exploded right out of the gate. And they're so close to you. You guys could maybe start up like a little local group for the North Midwest. I don't know what that area is, but yeah, whatever it is that
we're Midwest.
Midwest. Yeah. That Midwest area, you guys can start up a little group possibly with right there. But I would definitely get hold of Corey and Carrie. They just came into the tribe, absolutely exploded right out of the gate, just like you, but they've done many, many, many deals and have made huge margins. So excellent. I would start to do that. And anyway, this is a podcast, so I won't go on too long with coaching, but I really, really like it, brother. You are a rock star. I'm super impressed. And thank you for agreeing to do this podcast. It's an honor chatting with you here.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for all that you do in starting this group, and you and Cody and Brent and, Bill and Lorena, you guys are all just so helpful. I just love it.
Thank you, man. It means a lot. It means the world. Thank you very much. And before I let you go, any last minute parting words of advice for anybody who's just getting started? Any ideas or strategies, books, tactics, anything like that?
Books. I love books. I read all the time.
Bam.
And I think
what do you like?
It's just, I've probably read, either have read everything you guys have suggested or it's in my pile. I just finished Psycho-Cybernetics, and I just love it as far as personality development and just spiritual development. It's amazing. I love The Go-Giver, 4 Spiritual Laws, all great.
I love it. Good man. All right, brother. Some of my favorites. I love it. Pattern interruption, tithing, and being a servant. That's basically what Chad just talked about in those 3 books.
Yeah.
So I love it. Good. So awesome, brother. Thank you very much for doing this. It was an honor having you, and we will definitely have a follow-up podcast and speak with you again soon. I can't wait to see your results.
Sounds good, Tom. Thanks a lot.
All right, Chad. God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
That's all for this episode. Your next step to success is to continue the conversation over at investorgrit.com by joining the mailing list, as well as get your chance to book a strategy session to learn the systems and become part of the tribe with your hosts, Tom Kroll and Cody Hoffheim. We'll see you next episode with more ways to make you a fortune in wholesaling.